home building and remodeling show. Let's go. Welcome everybody to the home building and remodeling show. My name is Chris Kirby and I'll be your host. I am the owner of 3 construction companies on the Alabama Gulf Coast. The show is about residential construction. We're going to cover topics of home building and remodeling. Are you thinking of doing a remodel or building a home? Are you a contractor looking to improve your knowledge base or grow your business? Have you ever done a remodel project or built a home? There were so many things you wish you knew or that you could have done differently during the process. Then this show is for you. We break down the process of building and remodeling and how to have the best results during your project. Whether you're a DIYer looking for tips, someone looking to hire a contractor to do a project, or a contractor looking to expand your knowledge base or your business. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Stay tuned. And as always, we begin the show with my thoughts on construction, specifically home building and remodeling. Let's get started.
So I could go on and on about finding your niche. One of the problems that we had when we first started doing this is that as a brand new contractor, you don't know where your work is going to come from. So you're out there making calls, calling your friends, people you know, letting them know that you've just got into remodeling or home building and you're trying to establish clients. At first, we would do anything. We would hang up a ceiling fan if you called for it, paint, drywall, build a deck, inside, outside work. It didn't matter. Siding, any type of thing that we could get our hands on just to get in front of clients and get to meet people and let them know that we were contractors in their community, we would do it. And slowly, as we started to get a little bit of work, we quickly found out that we're not good at everything. And as a contractor, it is imperative that you figure out what you are good at very quick, because what happens is you want to do all the work. You want to take that job because you need it. You really do need it at first. And so you take that job and it's really not something that you're strong at. So being really good at something and just being able to do it are two separate things. And as a remodeler, if you're in construction, you do want to take on everything that you can. You have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. You have to know what you're good at. You've got to make sure that you stick to what you're good at, because you really start to get better, hone in on your skills. You become quicker. You become more efficient. You learn how to price it right. All of those things, if you're doing multiple types of work, you're never going to be able to perfect your cost structure. You're never going to be able to perfect the project flow. And you're never really going to master the efficiency it takes to become very good at your niche.
And now it's time for Shop Talk. This is where I bring in one of the co-hosts, Adam or Mark, and we begin to talk about different aspects of remodeling and home building. Hope you enjoy it. All right, so today I've got my partner Mark with me, and we're going to talk about Barndominiums. It's trending. It's trending in the home building industry, in the custom home building industry. I know out in Texas there are a lot of barndos out there already, but here on the Alabama Gulf Coast, it's becoming a thing. So we wanted to talk about it and answer some questions. And you being really the project manager, senior project manager here at our companies, we're on our third one now. We're about to break ground on our third one. So we've got a little bit of knowledge and experience in building the barndos. And I would say we do it a little bit different. Well, maybe not different, but we do it a certain way. So we work with a metal building vendor. We get the building in, and then we build out the interior, and they really operate as a metal building sub for us, yeah. Right? Besides the barndominiums being trendy, why do you think they're so hot right now, or why are they trending in our area?
I think part of it is the money aspect of it.
Yeah.
It is cheaper to build one.
Yep.
The efficiency of it, and you can, for the bang for your buck, you get shop time. You get that shop room along with build.
Yeah.
You have your living space, you have your garage, work area, all under one roof. It's just very efficient.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that because, we get asked about building barndominiums and we look at a lot of different floor plans. There are a lot of floor plans out there that people are looking at. But to me, and I don't know how you feel about this, but a barndominium, especially a shop type, is different than having a full home that's all living space with just metal siding.
It is.
Yeah, and it's a lot cheaper. The reason that it's cheaper to do a barndominium is because you have more free space than you have living space, but you get the foundation and the building cheaper. So you get it's cheaper to build out a 6,000 square foot metal building with a foundation than it is to make it a 6,000 square foot home.
It is.
Right. So for us, when I look at it, the right way to look at a barndominium, if you're looking at saving money, is to have a minimal living space with a bunch of shop. Is that how you look at it too?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And that, in my eyes, that's a true barndominium.
Right.
A barn home is just as efficient, and you can still save money by doing a barn home versus a traditional build.
Yeah.
But the barndominium part of it, you get all the layout of that extra space.
Right. And it's really a barn and a condominium. That's where the barndominium term comes from. Usually in the beginning, I think people were building the garage into the living space, and the living space, again, was minimal. It was kind of like a condominium inside of a shop. And that's where you save the money. And so for us, when we look at the one that we just completed in Alberta, it was a 6,000 square foot building, and it had one side was the main house, and it had 2,500 square feet. Then it had 2,250 square foot garage, and then it had a 1,250 square foot mother-in-law suite. That was the composition of 6,000 square feet, but it was a lot cheaper because we only had to build out the interior of the main house and the mother-in-law suite. The rest of it was the shop or the garage. And that's why it was way more affordable. I would say right now on average, we're saving 20 to 25% on building the shop type barndominiums. Now, what about strength of home? Down here on the Alabama Gulf Coast, we have what's called fortification, and there's 3 different levels of fortification. There's where you do your roof, right, which is a bronze, and then you have the silver fortification, which is the windows and doors, your gable vents, things like that. And then you have gold, which is how we build all of our homes. And now these barndominiums, are they able to be gold fortified?
They are.
Okay.
They are.
And how does that work?
So the main thing is they come engineered from the factory with 165 mile an hour wind rating.
Gotcha.
Which accommodates the gold fortification rules.
Gotcha.
The only other step you have to do to it is put plywood, OSB, zip, something on the exterior roof and walls to get that fortification.
So you can't tack on the metal panels to the steel and it's done?
Cannot.
Okay.
It has to have that OSB with the house wrap on it, or the zip system, one of those.
Right. And exactly. It can be one or the other, correct? Yes. It doesn't have to be. So it can be OSB with the house wrap or the zip system.
That's right.
Okay. As far as the strength of the barndo compared to a traditional home, these are commercial buildings coming from the manufacturer, and they're, like you said, wind rated already for 165 mile an hour. Yeah. So if you don't know the categories of storm, 165 mile an hour is a pretty strong storm here on the Gulf Coast. So, and that's how they are able to fortify. We actually work with a couple of fortified inspectors that come out and they inspect during the process. I think another reason that these barndos are trendy is because here, on the Gulf Coast, people like to have their land, they like to have a shop, they like to have their house, And so this was a way for a lot of people to put them both under one roof and save some money while doing it. And then you have that free space later. Like I think the one we did, plywooded the attic floor for her, right? How tall do you remember how tall that one was?
So the eave heights were 14 foot.
Okay.
The interior walls were 10 foot, so there's plenty of headspace above.
Yep.
I believe it was 22 foot up to the peak.
Yep. He actually, in the garage that separated the main house and the mother-in-law suite, we actually put stairs and they could walk above both sides of that house, correct?
Yeah.
So could they, in the future, build more in there? Could they make rooms and stuff like that?
Definitely.
Yeah. And then in the garage, if they were like, well, I really only needed 1,000 square foot, they could take and add rooms and different things like that, correct? Yeah. Okay. What about the process of building a barndominium? So for us, again, there's a couple of different styles of barndominium. There's the stick built, which is your post and beam type of build. And then the way we do it, again, is we order the metal building and the metal building comes in. And talk to us about how the evolution of that works.
So at arrival of the metal building, we try to have the foundation ready, the concrete pour.
Yep.
That way, when the metal building gets here, it can be erected. It takes 3 weeks or so to erect an average 3,000 to 4,000 square foot metal building.
Gotcha.
It takes a week to build it out interior.
Okay.
Versus traditional home, that's a 2-month, 3-month process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a lot more efficient time-wise.
Yeah.
I can turn that product around a lot quicker than a traditional home build.
Yeah, because a lot of what we're looking at is not structural because the building, again, is already wind rated. The foundation is engineered. And so once the erectors come out and put up the metal building, we're able to really go to town on the inside and get it done pretty quickly.
Yep.
As far as the steps, once we get to the interior build out, it's pretty much the same as a traditional build from that point for the client?
It is.
Okay.
It is. Once they start framing inside, it is, from that point forward, it is just like a traditional build. Interior walls, insulation, interior walls. Then your subs come in, HVAC, plumbing, electrical. Once that's done, you call for your full weight just like a normal build. And then it's ready for sheetrock trim and finishes.
Yeah. And so for us, the process, once we get to interior build out, it's very similar to how we would do a traditional style home. One of the things that we've had some issues with in the beginning, so 2 years ago is when we really started down this path, helping a friend build a barndominium. And it was a little bit hard for her to get the financing that she needed from the bank because it was trending and there was really no other barndominiums in the area. And so the financing part was hard because there weren't any comps. Well, we've there's a few around here now. And so there are a couple of local banks that will take on those types of loans. Actually financing a barndominium here where we are isn't an issue at the moment. And then the other thing that people were having a hard time with was getting the insurance for them. But again, it's the same thing. Now that there are a few around, the insurance companies are able to insure them. And what you got to look at is these things are really commercial, like a commercial building. They're really no different. And I think now that people are more educated on what exactly a barndominium is, they're able to insure it and put a mortgage on it, provide financing, different things like that. Is there any difference in the process of the land clearing or any of that type of stuff for a barndo?
It's not.
It's all the same. So just like a custom home.
It is. The only thing I've found that is different is in the foundation step.
Yeah.
If your property is not flat, you cannot do block on that foundation like you would a traditional house and then backfill and pour your slab.
Yeah.
So you have a lot more dirt fill to bring in.
So how does it? So explain that to me, because we're about to do one that's on an unlevel lot. Just because your lot isn't level doesn't mean that you can't do a barndominium, and that's kind of what he's talking about. So how does that work in preparing that foundation since it's not level.
Yeah, so it's you cut your ground, figure out how deep it's got to be at the highest point.
Yep.
And then you start bringing in your fill dirt. Once you get your fill dirt in, then it has to be compacted, just over and over, running over it with a roller or dump trucks, whatever it takes to get it back. And then get that compaction test to assure that it is, 95% compacted.
Yep.
And once you get that, then you move on like a traditional monolithic slab.
Some people ask about, like, oh, it's metal, so how does it not rust and all this different type of stuff?
So it has a coating on it.
Yep.
And it has, I think, a 30 or 40-year warranty on that coating.
Yeah. So does the building come from the manufacturer with a warranty?
It does.
Okay.
It does. All the parts have a warranty.
Gotcha.
One of the questions I've been asked a lot lately by potential clients are, do we have to put metal on the walls? Can we do board and batten, or can we do a brick skirt? And yes, you can.
Right. So
once you get that plywood there, then it becomes more like a traditional. You can do a brick skirt with metal to it, or you can do hardy.
yeah, and we're doing so right now. The one that we're doing in Alberta, that one actually on the front, we've actually done a stone skirt around the front too. How did that work? I guess one of the questions will be where the stone and metal meet. How does that all work?
So you take, like that one, it was just one wall.
Yeah.
Just the front wall.
Just the front of the barndominium, the front.
So it didn't go, all the way around. So at the corners, they have a corner trim that comes down with the metal, and they just let it come all the way down over the edge of the stone.
Yep.
And they do make, with those stones, they do make transitions for corners and top rails and everything for it.
Gotcha.
But on that one, we actually let the metal come down over the sides.
Yep.
And then put a flashing on the top ledge of the brick.
Gotcha. So one of the other questions people ask about is insulating the barndominiums. And I'm in quite a few different groups on Facebook that specifically talk about barndominiums and styles, and insulation is a big topic that comes up. What kind of insulation are we using in these barndominiums?
So with both of the first two we have done spray foam, open cell on both of them.
Yeah.
I like it. I really do. They do make the traditional plastic insulated wrap that goes on the building all the way around on the ceiling and everything. And it's the same thing you would find in any other metal building.
Yeah.
And it seems efficient enough, but that spray foam really, really cuts down on noise and temperature, your elements creeping through the metal.
Yeah. Okay.
I do like it a lot.
Yeah. And we've talked to our insulators, and we use, a couple of different ones, and they'll tell you, like on the big one that we just completed, that it was kind of overkill to further insulate the walls, unless you're looking for like a soundproofing or a barrier. That foam was fine, right? And there was no need to further insulate those walls.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no need.
Question people have is in the design part. So how we do it, and I'll let you speak to the beginning phases, because I know I deal more with when we send it to our architect and he does the interior build out phase. But how do people go about getting plans for a barndominium?
For the metal part itself?
Yes.
That first, knowing your square footage.
Yep.
Do you want it wider than it is long?
Yeah.
That's the first step. And then from there, we'll get them in contact with the metal vendor. Yeah. And then he'll actually design the building with them. Okay. How they want it to look. Do they want two-tone metal? Everything to it. The colors of the metal, the sizes of the building, long, skinny, square. All of that comes from the vendor. Gotcha. And then they engineer it. And then it comes to us. And then our architect will get with them, get it drawn out, get the windows laid out where they go. Okay. And then basically, then you have a full set of plans, correct? Yes. Well, once he does his interior, so let's talk about it. You got the metal building that comes stamped. It's engineered. It is. Okay. We have a local engineer that does the foundation portion. Yes. Okay.
Then we have an architect that does the design and build out portion of the barndominium. And then once he's done, he sends it to the engineer again to basically make everything mesh, right? Okay. And then once that engineer is done, we're ready to go to planning and zoning and move into permitting. So that's kind of the process of looking at a barndominium. So I want to close out the conversation about barndominiums, and I hope that you guys were able to get some knowledge out of that.
Thanks for joining us today. As always, we are grateful for our listeners and your continued support. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media via Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Get more info at our website, www.thehomebuildingshow.com. And as always, remember who we are, the Home Building and Remodeling Show.